Remember that first perfect bite of your childhood picnic sandwich that somehow tasted better outdoors than any gourmet meal ever could? Before artisanal everything took over, these humble picnic sandwiches were pure magic, wrapped in wax paper. Let's rediscover the 25 forgotten picnic sandwiches you ate in your childhood. Peanut butter and banana sandwich. The sweet marriage of creamy peanut butter and ripe banana slices, squished between soft white bread, created a sandwich that was both filling and sweet. Kids would open their lunchboxes to find this treat slightly flattened from being packed tight, the peanut butter seeping into the bread. The combination was magical. Protein-packed peanut butter with the natural sweetness of banana, offering a perfect energy boost for afternoon play. Sometimes Mom would add a light drizzle of honey for extra sweetness, or a sprinkle of cinnamon that made it feel like dessert. This sandwich was especially popular in households influenced by Elvis Presley's famous preference for the combination. The sandwich often came with slightly browned banana edges, which only added to its rustic charm and unmistakable flavor profile that defined countless summer afternoons. Egg salad and olive sandwich. Opening your sandwich to discover the pale yellow egg salad studded with green olive pieces was like finding buried treasure. The creamy, protein-rich mixture of hard-boiled eggs mashed with mayonnaise created the perfect base, while chopped green olives added bursts of briny flavor and texture. This sandwich was often served on white bread with crusts removed, a sign that Mom put in extra effort. The bread would sometimes get slightly soggy from the moisture of the egg salad, but that was part of its charm. Kids would trade these sandwiches for other lunch items, making them valuable currency in the playground economy. The pimento stuffed olive pieces were like little jewels, and finding one was the highlight of each bite. This sandwich represented sophistication to many children, a grown-up flavor combination that made you feel mature as you sat at the picnic table with the tangy aroma wafting from your lunch. Bologna and American cheese sandwich. The classic working-class hero of sandwiches, the bologna and American cheese was a staple in metal lunchboxes across America. The pink, perfectly round meat with its distinctive red ring around the edge, paired with a square of bright orange American cheese, created a simple yet satisfying meal. Many parents added a swipe of yellow mustard or mayonnaise for extra flavor. The soft white bread would compress around the fillings, creating a compact meal that held up surprisingly well despite being packed hours before lunch. Kids would sometimes remove the red ring from the bologna before eating, a ritual that became part of the experience. The sandwich had a distinct, salty flavor profile that was comforting and familiar. At picnics, these sandwiches would be stacked high on paper plates, ready for grabbing between games of tag or frisbee, their simplicity perfectly matching the uncomplicated joy of childhood summers. Cream cheese and cucumber sandwich. Light, refreshing, and surprisingly sophisticated, the cream cheese and cucumber sandwich brought a touch of tea party elegance to everyday picnics. Thin slices of cool cucumber layered over a spread of smooth cream cheese created a sandwich that was as visually appealing as it was delicious. Often served on white bread with crusts removed, these dainty sandwiches were typically cut into triangles or fingers, making them feel special and fancy. The crisp, watery crunch of fresh cucumber against the rich, tangy cream cheese created a texture contrast that was uniquely satisfying on hot summer days. Some mothers would add a light sprinkle of dill or black pepper for added flavor dimension. These sandwiches were especially popular at girl-focused gatherings like doll tea parties or dance recital celebrations. Despite their simplicity, they somehow made regular weekday lunches feel a bit more special. A brief moment of refinement in otherwise rambunctious childhood days. Olive nut spread sandwich. This unique sandwich spread combined finely chopped green olives, nuts, usually pecans or walnuts, and cream cheese into a distinctive paste that was both savory and rich. Spread generously between slices of white bread, Olive nut created a sandwich that stood out from more common lunch options. The texture was fascinating to childhood palates, creamy from the cream cheese base, with unexpected crunchy bits from the nuts and the occasional burst of salty olive flavor. This sandwich filling came from an era when salads meant ingredients bound together with creamy dressings or spreads. Many children encountered this sandwich at church picnics or family reunions, where it was often cut into quarters and arranged on large serving platters. The distinctive flavor was polarizing. Some kids traded them away immediately, while others considered them a special treat. The sandwich represented the adventurous side of mid-century cooking, when combining unexpected ingredients was considered creative and modern homemaking. Pimento cheese sandwich, a true Southern classic that made its way into lunch pails across America. Pimento cheese sandwiches combined shredded cheddar cheese, mayonnaise, and diced pimentos into a spread that was simultaneously creamy, tangy, and slightly sweet. The vibrant orange mixture was generously applied to white bread to create a sandwich that was as colorful as it was flavorful. The texture was unique, creamy, yet with the distinct texture of shredded cheese, with occasional pops of pimento. Many regional variations existed, with some families adding a dash of hot sauce, a sprinkle of paprika, or even finely chopped pecans. These sandwiches were often present at community gatherings, sporting events, and especially popular during Masters tournament season. Children would sometimes open their sandwiches to reveal the bright orange filling, fascinated by its vivid color. When packed for picnics, these sandwiches would develop an even more intense flavor as they sat, the ingredients melding together in perfect harmony under the weight of other lunch items. Tuna salad with sweet pickles sandwich. Opening a lunchbox to find a tuna sandwich was a sensory experience. The distinctive aroma announced its presence immediately. Canned tuna mixed with mayonnaise created the base, but it was the addition of finely chopped sweet pickles that elevated this sandwich to memorable status. The contrast between the savory fish and the sweet, crunchy pickle bits created a complexity that belied the sandwich's simple appearance. Often packed on slightly heartier white or wheat bread to stand up to the moist filling, these sandwiches sometimes included diced celery or onion for additional texture. Parents favored these sandwiches for their protein content and relative affordability, while kids either loved or hated them with little middle ground. The sandwiches were frequently accompanied by potato chips, which innovative children would sometimes place inside the sandwich for added crunch. At picnics, these sandwiches were both praised and blamed for attracting neighborhood cats, adding an element of adventure to outdoor meals. Ham salad sandwich. Before pre-sliced deli meats became ubiquitous, leftover ham was often transformed into ham salad, a spread made from finely ground ham mixed with mayonnaise, sweet pickle relish, and sometimes hard-boiled eggs. The pink textured spread was generously applied to white bread, creating a protein-rich sandwich that made great use of holiday ham leftovers. The slightly sweet and savory combination appealed to children's palates, while parents appreciated the economical use of leftovers. The texture was distinctive, neither completely smooth nor obviously chunky, but somewhere satisfyingly in between. These sandwiches were often accompanied by chips or carrot sticks, creating a complete lunch that sustained afternoon play. Some regional variations included additions like finely diced celery for crunch or a dash of mustard for tang. Ham salad sandwiches were frequently found at post-holiday picnics and family gatherings, their distinctive pink color making them instantly recognizable among the assortment of offerings on the communal table. Liverwurst and onion sandwich. A sandwich that divided playground opinion like no other, liverwurst with thin slices of raw onion represented a bold flavor profile rarely seen in modern children's lunches. The rich, distinctive taste of liverwurst, a spreadable sausage made from liver, paired with the sharp bite of raw onion, created a combination that was decidedly grown up. Usually served on rye bread with a smear of yellow mustard, this sandwich was a reflection of European culinary influences in American households. Children with European immigrant grandparents were most likely to find this robust sandwich in their lunchboxes. The sandwich had staying power, its flavors holding up well through morning classes until lunch period. Some kids traded these away immediately, while others guarded them jealously, already developing the sophisticated palate that would later appreciate similar strong flavors. At family picnics, these sandwiches were often reserved for the adults' table, making them all the more intriguing to curious children who sought to prove their mature taste preferences. Pickle and cream cheese sandwich. The surprising pairing of whole dill pickles with cream cheese spread created a sandwich that combined crunchy, briny flavors with creamy richness. The construction was simple but specific. A whole dill pickle was placed on bread spread generously with cream cheese, then closed and sliced, creating rounds that showcased the pickle's cross-section. The visual appeal was undeniable. The green circle of pickle centered in white cream cheese and bread created an almost artistic presentation. The flavor combination was unexpected, but oddly satisfying, the cool cream cheese tempering the pickle's vinegary bite. These sandwiches were especially popular in regions with Eastern European influences, where similar flavor combinations were traditional. Children were often initially skeptical, but quickly won over by the textural contrast and unique taste profile. At picnics, these sandwiches stayed remarkably fresh, the cream cheese creating a moisture barrier that prevented the bread from becoming soggy from the pickle juice, making them perfect for outdoor eating. Sardine and mustard sandwich. Perhaps the most polarizing sandwich of mid-century childhoods, the sardine and mustard sandwich featured tinned sardines mashed with yellow mustard on sturdy bread, usually rye or pumpernickel, to stand up to the strong flavors. The intense fishiness combined with mustard's tang created a powerful flavor experience that children either passionately loved or vehemently rejected. These sandwiches were most common in households with European connections, particularly Scandinavian, Portuguese, or Mediterranean influences. Parents valued them for their high calcium content from the soft sardine bones and omega fatty acids, though children were more concerned with the unique taste and texture. Opening a lunchbox to find this sandwich meant instantly becoming the center of attention, as the distinctive aroma announced its presence immediately. Some variations included thinly sliced onions or a squeeze of lemon juice. These sandwiches represented childhood food bravery. Eating them earned respect from certain peers and strengthened cultural connections within immigrant families. Bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. The classic BLT represented a special treat in childhood lunchboxes. The combination of crispy bacon, fresh lettuce, and juicy tomato slices created a sandwich that felt like restaurant food brought to the everyday picnic. Assembly required care. The ingredients were layered between mayonnaise-spread bread, with the lettuce strategically placed to prevent the tomatoes' moisture from soaking the bread. These sandwiches were often reserved for weekend picnics rather than school lunches, as they were best consumed shortly after making. The contrast of warm bacon with cool, crisp vegetables created a sensory experience that elevated this sandwich to memorable status. Children appreciated the familiar flavors combined in perfect balance, while parents considered it a way to include vegetables in a meal that wouldn't meet resistance. At family picnics, adults would sometimes prepare a large platter of BLTs, cutting them into triangles that disappeared quickly from the spread. The sandwich represented a bridge between simple children's food and more sophisticated adult fare. Chicken salad sandwich. The fancy cousin of tuna salad that appeared at special occasions and family reunions. This sandwich meant someone had actually cooked chicken specifically for lunch, not just opened a can. The best versions had chunks of real chicken mixed with mayo, celery, and sometimes grapes or nuts for sweetness and crunch. These sandwiches were often served on slightly better bread, maybe wheat or even a dinner roll if the occasion was really special. They were picnic royalty, the kind of sandwich that impressed other families and made your mom feel proud. Kids either loved the chunks of chicken or picked them out to eat separately. These sandwiches taught us that lunch could be an event, not just fuel for the afternoon. Peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwich. The legendary Fluffernutter combined two childhood favorite ingredients, creamy peanut butter and marshmallow fluff, to create a sandwich that was essentially dessert disguised as lunch. Popular particularly in the northeastern United States, this sweet sensation featured equal portions of peanut butter and the sticky marshmallow spread on white bread. The texture was part of its appeal. Creamy peanut butter contrasted with the uniquely stretchy, gooey quality of the fluff. Opening your sandwich often revealed the marshmallow cream slowly oozing toward the edges, creating a visual treat as enticing as the flavor. These sandwiches were occasional specials rather than everyday options in most households, making their appearance in a lunchbox cause for celebration. Some families added banana slices or a drizzle of honey to create even more decadent variations. At picnics, these sandwiches were prone to becoming even more gooey in warm weather, often requiring multiple napkins and leaving memorable sticky fingerprints on everything children touched afterward. Cheese and pickle sandwich. Different from the cream cheese and pickle combination, this British-influenced sandwich paired sharp cheddar cheese with tangy pickle relish, or chutney. The strong flavors complemented each other perfectly. The creamy, savory cheese balanced by the sweet-sour punch of the pickle spread. Usually served on heartier white or wheat bread, these sandwiches were particularly popular in households with Anglo traditions. The sandwich had staying power, holding up well in lunchboxes until midday, the flavors actually improving as they melded together over the morning hours. Some variations included a thin spread of butter on the bread or the addition of thinly sliced onions for extra zip. Children with this sandwich often found themselves explaining it to curious friends, becoming unofficial cultural ambassadors on the playground. At family gatherings, these sandwiches might appear alongside more American offerings, providing a taste connection to British heritage and introducing children to international flavor profiles long before global cuisine became mainstream. Spam and cheese sandwich. During and after World War II, Spam became an American pantry staple, and the Spam and cheese sandwich represents a lasting legacy of this era. Thin slices of the distinctive canned meat product, paired with American cheese, created a protein-packed lunch option that was both economical and shelf-stable. Important considerations for mid-century families. The salty, slightly spiced flavor of Spam, combined with mild cheese, created a satisfying combination, usually enhanced with mayonnaise or mustard spread. These sandwiches were particularly common in Hawaii, the Midwest, and rural areas where fresh meat was less accessible. Children often enjoyed the uniform texture and familiar salty flavor, finding comfort in its consistency. Some households fried the Spam before adding it to sandwiches, creating a warm meal that would cool to room temperature by lunchtime, the rendered fat adding additional flavor. At community picnics, these sandwiches represented practical American ingenuity, transforming shelf-stable ingredients into satisfying meals that could feed crowds affordably. Cucumber and butter sandwich. The epitome of simple elegance, cucumber and butter sandwiches featured paper-thin cucumber slices arranged meticulously on buttered white bread, usually with crusts removed. The butter served multiple purposes, adding rich flavor while creating a moisture barrier that prevented the cucumbers from making the bread soggy. These sandwiches were particularly popular at girls' tea parties, dance recitals, and other occasions where delicate foods were favored. Often cut into precise triangles or fingers, they elevated ordinary lunches to special occasions. The subtle flavor appealed to children with more sensitive palates, while the refreshing crispness made them perfect for hot summer days. Some variations included a light sprinkle of salt, dill, or white pepper to enhance the cucumber's natural flavor. These sandwiches connected American children to British traditions, appearing in books like Alice in Wonderland that described similar tea sandwiches. At family picnics, these light offerings balanced heavier fare, providing a cool counterpoint to more robust sandwich options. Chicken salad with grape sandwich. A special treat that elevated the basic chicken sandwich, chicken salad with grapes, combined diced cooked chicken, mayonnaise, and halved green grapes into a sophisticated filling that straddled the line between savory and sweet. The juicy pop of the grapes created texture contrast against the tender chicken, while frequently added ingredients like celery and sometimes nuts contributed additional crunch. These sandwiches often appeared in lunchboxes on special occasions or when leftover roast chicken needed repurposing. Usually served on croissants or softer breads like wheat or white, these sandwiches felt more special than everyday options. Children appreciated the surprising sweetness of the grapes mixed with the familiar flavor of chicken. At picnics and ladies' luncheons, these sandwiches were often cut into triangles and served alongside fruit, representing a more refined option that made children feel grown up. The sandwich demonstrated how a simple addition, sweet grapes, could transform a basic recipe into something memorable that bridged generational taste preferences. Deviled ham sandwich. Sold in distinctive small cans with paper wrappers featuring the Underwood Devil logo, deviled ham spread created sandwiches that packed intense flavor into a compact package. The spreadable meat product, essentially finely ground ham with added spices, had a distinctive spicy savory profile unlike any other sandwich filling. Spread thickly on white bread, sometimes with a layer of mayonnaise, these sandwiches delivered a punch of protein and flavor that sustained afternoon activities. The smooth texture with its slight graininess was uniquely satisfying, while the spicy notes made it feel more grown-up than standard lunch fare. These sandwiches were particularly popular during the 1950s and 60s when convenience foods gained prominence in American households. Children sometimes decorated these sandwiches with sliced olives or pickle eyes to acknowledge the devil on the can. At community gatherings and picnics, these sandwiches provided a convenient option that could be prepared quickly for large groups. Meatloaf sandwich, the leftover transformation that turned dinner into next day's lunch. Cold meatloaf slices between bread created hearty sandwiches that were both familiar and convenient. These usually appeared on Mondays, made from Sunday night's dinner leftovers. Smart moms added ketchup or mayo to prevent the bread from getting too dry. The meatloaf provided substantial protein and familiar flavors that kids already enjoyed from dinner. These sandwiches represented resourcefulness and the understanding that good food shouldn't go to waste. They were comfort food disguised as convenience food, bringing the warmth of home-cooked meals to school lunchrooms. Kids who got these knew their families believed in making the most of everything. Potato chip sandwich, the ultimate texture bomb. 2 slices of white bread, mayonnaise, and a handful of potato chips crushed inside. Each bite was a symphony of soft and crunchy. The cool mayo against the salty chips created a flavor that fancy restaurants now try to recreate and call contrast of textures. Back then, it was just what you ate when your mom got creative with the lunch packing. The chips would slowly soften throughout the morning, creating a unique texture by lunchtime that somehow made it even better. There was serious debate among kids about whether to use ridged or plain chips, with the ridged chip enthusiasts claiming their sandwich held up better over time, while the plain chip devotees insisted their version had the superior crunch to softness ratio. Some adventurous souls would add different chip flavors, sour cream and onion or barbecue, fundamentally altering the sandwich's personality. The true connoisseurs knew to add an extra handful of chips right before eating, creating a multi-layered chip experience with both the morning softened chips and fresh crunchy ones. When you bit down, the soft bread would squish while the chips provided that satisfying shatter sound that let everyone know you had the coolest lunch at the table. Hungarian chicken paprikash. Bold, comforting, and built on just a handful of ingredients that transformed into something far greater than their sum. Starting with bone-in chicken pieces, browned until skin crisped, filling the kitchen with mouth-watering aroma. Thinly sliced onions sautéed to golden perfection created the foundation for the star ingredient. Generous handfuls of paprika that turned everything deep red and earthy. Some added garlic for extra depth, others kept it simple. A touch of flour thickened the sauce before water or broth loosened it to perfect consistency. Just before serving, rich sour cream swirled and created velvety, luxurious texture that coated every bite. Typically served over wide egg noodles, perfectly designed for soaking up every drop of the magnificent sauce. some garnished with parsley for freshness. Most let the dish's inherent flavors shine unadorned. This wasn't about presentation, but about delivering deep, smoky, tangy heartiness that satisfied completely. It fed families, warmed bellies, and created lasting food memories long after plates were cleaned. Cream cheese and jelly sandwich. The poor man's cheesecake. Cream cheese spread thick on white bread with a layer of grape jelly. The sweet and tangy combination was a revelation before fancy flavor combinations were cool. It was like having dessert for lunch, and sometimes the cream cheese would melt just enough to mix with the jelly, creating marble swirls that looked as good as they tasted. The bread would get a little soggy, but that was part of the charm. Opening your lunchbox to find this sandwich meant your parent had taken extra time that morning, as spreading cold cream cheese on soft bread required patience and finesse. If spread too roughly, the bread would tear, resulting in a patchwork sandwich that tasted the same but lost aesthetic points. Different jelly flavors created different experiences. Grape was classic and assertive. Strawberry added a hint of sophistication, and the rare exotic flavors like apricot or blackberry meant your family had recently visited a farmer's market or fancy aunt. The sandwich's appearance would transform throughout the morning. By lunchtime, the jelly would partially absorb into both the cream cheese and bread, creating a graduated color effect that was visually striking. In winter months, the cold classroom would keep the cream cheese firm, while in warmer seasons it would develop a soft, almost frosting-like consistency. Salisbury steak. The closest many families ever got to steak, and nobody complained. Ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, salt, pepper, and perhaps a dash of Worcestershire sauce for depth created the foundation. Shaped into oval patties and flattened just enough to sear perfectly in a hot skillet, they developed beautiful browning on both sides before being set aside for the real star, mushroom gravy. Sliced mushrooms sautéed with onions, then dusted with flour to capture flavorful drippings. Broth or water transformed the mixture into smooth, bubbling perfection. The patties returned to simmer until they absorbed every bit of flavor. The gravy thickened while the meat remained juicy, creating a skillet meal worthy of any diner window. Frozen peas on the side added color and nutrition, while mashed potatoes, boxed or scratch-made, completed this satisfying plate. This wasn't pretentious steakhouse fare. It was honest, filling comfort food that felt special, even midweek. Leftovers made outstanding sandwiches the next day, with extra gravy spread like decadent mayo. Sardine sandwich. The sandwich that cleared a 3-foot radius around you. Tinned sardines mashed with mayonnaise on white bread, sometimes with a squeeze of lemon if your parents were fancy. The smell announced your lunch before you did. Kids would dramatically hold their noses, but secretly, some were jealous of your sophisticated palate. The oily fish would soak into the bread, making the whole thing a soft, savory experience that you either loved or hated. There was an unspoken hierarchy to sardine sandwiches. The basic version had just the fish and mayo. The intermediate version included finely diced onions or celery for texture, and the elite version featured capers or chopped pickles that added briny pops of flavor. The sardine sandwich revealed your family's economic philosophy. Some saw it as a protein-packed, affordable option, while others viewed it as a delicacy worth the premium price of imported fish. The best versions had the sardines mashed just enough to create a spread while leaving some recognizable pieces for textural interest. By mid-morning, the sandwich would have fully matured, with the flavors melding together and the oils penetrating the bread to create a unified culinary experience. Ham hocks and cabbage. The aroma wafted down the street, bubbling away in chipped enamel pots on back burners throughout the neighborhood. Using incredibly affordable ingredients, ham hocks and cabbage, this dish created something transcending its humble components. The meat slowly transformed, becoming buttery soft and falling effortlessly from the bone with gentle spoon pressure, while cabbage soaked up every drop of that smoky, flavorful broth. This represented end-of-day cooking. No fuss, no measuring cups, no cookbook consultation. Everything went into the pot for low, slow simmering until sundown brought dinner readiness. Families stretched it over several days, sometimes adding beans, sometimes just more water. Yet it remained delicious and satisfying. Bread provided the perfect vehicle for capturing remaining broth. Without it, diners slurped directly from bowls, wasting nothing. This hearty meal filled stomachs, silenced hunger complaints, and provided essential warmth for facing cold mornings ahead. The combination of fatty, rich ham and tender cabbage created perfect balance in a one-pot wonder that represented working-class ingenuity and resourcefulness. Tomato sandwich, the summer sandwich that celebrated simplicity. Just sliced tomatoes on white bread with a bit of mayo and salt. The tomatoes would release their juice into the bread, creating a delicious sogginess that was somehow better than it sounds. By lunchtime, the bread would be pink-tinged and soft, but that was part of the appeal. The fresh, acidic taste of tomatoes brightened up the cafeteria on hot days. Some kids would add a leaf of lettuce for extra crunch. The tomato sandwich was a seasonal status symbol, appearing only when garden tomatoes were at peak ripeness, signaling your family had either gardening skills or farmers market connections. The tomato variety dramatically altered the experience. Beefsteak tomatoes created substantial slices that dominated the sandwich. Romas offered a drier, more manageable option, and the coveted heirloom varieties brought color and flavor complexity that elevated the humble sandwich to gourmet status. Assembly order was critical. Mayo had to be applied to both bread slices to create a moisture barrier. Then the tomato slices needed to be blotted dry before placement to prevent immediate sogginess. Salt timing was equally important. Applied too early, it would draw out tomato moisture prematurely. Too late, and it wouldn't properly enhance the flavors. Some families added sophisticated touches like freshly ground black pepper, basil leaves from the garden, or a splash of olive oil that signaled European influences. Mock chicken leg, the ultimate culinary illusion. Pork or veal cubes, skewered, breaded, and cooked to resemble chicken drumsticks without containing actual poultry. Born in butcher shops where pork cost less than chicken, this creative presentation elevated affordable protein. Meat stacked densely on wooden skewers, dipped in beaten egg, rolled in breadcrumbs or crushed crackers, then pan-fried or oven-baked until golden and crisp. Some cooks seared first before finishing, covered in ovens to maximize moisture retention. The result? Juicy meat surrounded by crunchy coating that made diners forget they weren't eating genuine chicken. Kid-friendly, lunch-appropriate, and fancy enough to feel special despite budget-friendly cost. Typically served alongside mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, or simple white bread, these mock drumsticks satisfied practical needs while providing mealtime enjoyment. Families smiled seeing them appear, appreciating both the clever concept and delicious execution. The contrast between the crispy exterior and tender interior created textural magic that elevated this humble dish to something special. This represented working-class culinary creativity at its finest, transforming affordable ingredients into something that felt like a treat. Tuna and pickle sandwich, the sandwich that announced itself to the whole cafeteria. Tuna salad with extra pickles mixed in, spread between two slices of white bread. The smell would waft through the air the moment you opened your lunchbox. The tangy pickles cut through the rich tuna, creating a flavor balance that was surprisingly sophisticated. By lunchtime, the bread would be soft from the tuna salad, making each bite a messy but delicious experience. The tuna-to-mayo ratio in the salad was a defining family characteristic. Some preferred a drier mix that emphasized the fish. Others used more mayo for a creamier, more cohesive spread. The pickle type dramatically altered the sandwich personality. Dill pickles created a savory profile. Sweet pickles added unexpected contrast, and relish provided uniform distribution, but sacrificed the satisfying crunch of pickle chunks. Additional mix-ins separated the basic versions from the gourmet. Finely diced celery added freshness and texture. Minced onion provided aromatic complexity, and a squeeze of lemon juice brightened the entire creation while offsetting the fishiness. The true tuna sandwich connoisseurs knew that structural integrity depended on thoroughly draining the tuna before mixing. Excess liquid meant a soggy sandwich by lunchtime. Hamburger gravy on mashed potatoes. A meal requiring no introduction, just a hungry appetite and ready fork. Beginning with ground beef sizzling to brown perfection in a well-seasoned skillet, perhaps enhanced with salt, pepper, chopped onion, or garlic if time permitted. Once cooked, meat shifted aside while flour whisked directly into drippings, transforming them through constant stirring. Slowly added milk or water created rich, creamy gravy that poured gloriously over waiting mashed potatoes. Sometimes scratch-made, sometimes boxed, but always steaming hot. The gravy cascaded through potatoes like delicious lava, creating a comfort food volcano on the plate. Every forkful delivered warmth, satisfying saltiness, and simple culinary pleasure only skillet dinners provide. Frozen peas typically accompanied the meal, either buttered separately or mixing directly into the gravy potato landscape. The entire dinner came together in 20 efficient minutes, making it working families' reliable solution to weeknight hunger. No pretension, just honest food that filled bellies and provided necessary calories for hard-working bodies. The contrast between fluffy potatoes and savory meat gravy created the perfect comfort food combination. Deviled ham sandwich. The mystery meat that came in a little can with a devil on it. Spreadable ham mixed with spices and spread on bread. It had a distinct smell that would announce itself when you opened your lunchbox. Sometimes your mom would fancy it up with chopped celery or pickle relish mixed in. The salty, tangy spread would often leak through the bread, leaving oily spots on your lunch bag that you'd try to hide from the other kids. Deviled ham came with built-in bragging rights. The distinctive small can with its paper wrapper and devil logo was instantly recognizable and somehow made you feel grown up and daring. Opening the can was a ritual itself. Some parents would remove the paper completely. Others would tear just enough to access the contents, and the careful ones would meticulously unwrap and save the paper design. The secret ingredient that elevated a basic deviled ham sandwich was how finely the additions were diced. The best versions had celery, onion, or pickle, chopped so small they were barely visible, but added crucial textural contrast to the smooth spread. Some families treated the deviled ham can as a measuring device. One can should make exactly 2 sandwiches, creating portion disputes among siblings if someone got more than their fair share. Chicken livers with peppers and onions. You recognize this dish cooking instantly from the distinctive sizzle. Chicken livers meeting diced onions and colorful bell peppers in hot skillets. This creation delivered impressive flavor while remaining budget-friendly. Livers packed iron, protein, and rich taste despite their modest cost, since most shoppers overlooked them. Rice stretched the meal, while onions and peppers contributed textural contrast and pleasant sweetness. The entire dish came together in under 30 minutes, using just one burner and a single skillet. Minimalist cooking at its finest. Some cooks added garlic or hot sauce for bold variation. Every bite offered richness without heaviness, savory depth without overwhelming intensity. The meal satisfied completely and typically left enough for next day lunch. This represented resourceful cooking that maximized minimal ingredients, critical for families living paycheck to paycheck. The combination of creamy livers with sweet peppers and pungent onions created balanced flavor profiles that belied the dish's humble origins. The varying textures, tender livers, slightly crisp vegetables, and fluffy rice made each forkful interesting and satisfying. Spam and cheese sandwich. The sandwich that could survive a nuclear apocalypse. Sliced spam with a piece of American cheese on white bread, sometimes with mustard if you were lucky. The salty meat and creamy cheese were a match made in processed food heaven. The spam would be cut into perfect rectangles that never quite fit the bread right, leaving corners of bread with nothing but cheese. Some kids would get fancy versions with fried spam that their parents had cooked the night before. The thickness of the Spam slice was a direct reflection of your parents' generosity or budgeting philosophy. Thin slices might stretch a can across multiple sandwiches in days, while thick slices signaled abundance or special occasions. The classic version used cold Spam straight from the can, but the elite variation featured Spam that had been lightly fried, creating caramelized edges and enhanced flavor, though this required evening preparation and morning assembly. The Spam and cheese sandwich maintained structural integrity better than most lunch options, rarely suffering from squishing or sogginess, even when placed at the bottom of a heavy lunch bag. Cutting technique mattered. Cutting diagonally created two triangles with interesting Spam exposure patterns, while a straight vertical cut resulted in more traditional rectangles.